say our opening prayer for the class, okay? And I want you this time to stand up, please. I want to do it this way. We are now here again, and we are looking forward to a very good discussion of what Mr. Neil will be teaching us. So to begin with, let's say our Father, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Amen. Our Father, now there please, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Thank you. Okay, so good morning, everybody. The first thing we want to ask ourselves, is there a difference between Christianity and all the other religions of the world? Or do all the religions of the world lead us to the same place? So what do we think? Do you think that religions or the paths that lead us to God, and that God is sitting here on top of the mountain, and there's many ways to get to the top of the mountain? Is that true? I'm sorry? It's possible? Anyone else agree, disagree with her? So does it matter whether we are Christian, Catholic, Baptist, or does it matter whether we are Muslim or Hindu or any of the other million religions on this earth? If all of the paths are going to lead us to God? No? Yes? No? Is it important or it doesn't make any difference?
Doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't make any difference. So it doesn't really matter whether you're Christian or you're Catholic. You could have just been born Hindu or Muslim or Buddhist, and you would still get to God? Is that what you'll think? What does Jesus say? What do you think Jesus says? Okay, first of all, there is a very, very major difference between Christ, who is Jesus, and you put all the other religions of the world together, okay, on the other side. Jesus stands alone. Why do you think so?
He's the light.
He's the light? Okay, so all of the other religions that are in this world today, who started that religion? Who would have started it? Who do you think? Let's take the religion of Buddhism, okay? Who do you think started the religion called Buddhism? Anyone?
Buddha.
Buddha. So Buddha started Buddhism, right? Who do you think started Islam?
the Islamic religion or the people that we call Muslims, who do you think started their religion? It was a man. His name was Muhammad. Okay? And if you go down the list of every single religion that has been started on this earth other than Christianity or Judaism, even Judaism, all the people that came and wrote all of the books of the Old Testament, what do we call them? We call them prophets, right? Why do we call them prophets? Do you know why? Remember I don't remember if I talked about this, but you have a prophet and you have a priest. You know what is the difference between the two of them? Okay. So, if God is sitting on this chair, okay? Now think about this very carefully, okay? And try to get this into your mind. God is sitting on the chair, right? I am a man. And you all are all the people. Alright? If God comes to me in a vision, what is a vision? Like a picture in your mind, okay? But what's the difference between a vision and a dream? A vision happens Okay, the main difference between a vision and a dream is that the vision comes to you while you are awake. Okay? So you're awake and you can see it. A dream comes to you when you are
asleep.
You understand the difference now? So when we read the Old Testament and it says that Mary saw a vision, that means she was awake when she saw the angel standing in front of her. Right? But Joseph, her husband, he had a dream. So God chose to come to each of them in two different ways. He chose to come to Mary through an angel while she was awake, but he chose to come to her husband Joseph while he was in a dream. Do you understand? So God speaks to us in different ways, right? God can speak to us through visions. God can speak to us through dreams. God speaks to us when we read the Bible, because this is His Word. Okay? You know, when we want to talk to God, how do we talk to God? When you are talking to somebody, what does it take? When we talk to someone, what do we need for a conversation to happen? We need words. What else do we need? We need sentences, but what do we need? We need two people, right? Or more. Two people or more, but you need two people. Without two people, there's no conversation. Right? No communication. So you need two people. So one person speaks, the other person listens. And then when the other person speaks, the other person listens, right? Yeah? So that's what's called communication or conversation. So how do we converse with God? How do we converse with God? You know how? Because when God speaks to us through His Word. Okay? So when we read the Bible, what are we doing? We are listening to God. When we speak, what do we call that? When we speak and God listens, what do we call that? Prayers. That's called praying. So you see, that's how we hold a conversation with God. Is it making sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yes. So, what happens if I go home and I'm married to my wife, and every time I go to into my home, and I tell my wife, you don't talk, you just shut up and just listen, and I talk. Da 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 da. I'm talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. What is going to happen to our marriage after a while? Huh? You're going to get bored, you're going to get divorced, the wife is going to get angry because she's going to say, you never listen to me. Right? That's what she's going to say, you never listen to me. So, how do you think, if we want to have a relationship with God and we want to communicate with Him, that if we only go all the time and just keep praying, and asking Him, God give me this, God give me that, God give me that, and we never bother to read this book, which is God talking to us, then it becomes a one-sided conversation, and then God's going to be the one to say that you never listened to me. And you only come to me when you want something. Right? Supposing you have a really good friend, and that friend really, really likes you, and you go to that friend and you ask him or her, hey, can I have that CD that you have? I really like that music. And she says, okay, here, you can take the CD. The next time you go, you say, I really like that coat you have. Can I borrow that? And the friend gives it to you. And then this just keeps going on and on. You go to the coffee shop and you ask your friend, I'm low on money today. Can you buy me a cup of coffee or a hamburger or something? And your friend does it. And then after a while, this keeps going on and on and on. And your friend is going to think to themselves finally one day that, hey, this friend is a loser. Right? They only come to me when they want something. If not, when that good friend of yours comes and tells you, hey, why don't you come hang out with me? You tell them, sorry, I have no time. Is it making sense? So this is what happens too when we go to God and we talk to Him. We're only talking to Him because we want something, right? And we keep asking God, give me this, give me this, give me this. But we never listen to Him. We don't want to spend time with Him. The only way we spend time with God is when we are reading His Word. So we have to make time for God. If we don't make time for God, and we just keep asking and asking and asking and asking for stuff, how do you think God feels? Sad. So do you understand why it is important for us to read the Bible? When you're with your friend and you're talking to your friend and your friend's talking to you, and if it's a real friend, why do you want to spend time in that person's company in the first place? Why? Because you're happy. So, when we spend time in God's presence, it makes God happy, yes. But just suppose, if we don't go and spend time with God, God of course will miss us because He loves everyone, right? But supposing after God has done everything for us and we still refuse to spend time in His presence, do you think it makes a difference to God? Do you think? Because look, if you look around, you see how many millions and millions of other people are worshipping God, right? So He does have millions and millions. It's not like if we don't go, that God is going to say, oh, you know what, I lost money. Of course, He's going to look after everybody, and He wants each and every one of us to come to Him. But you understand the point I'm trying to make? So who is the one who gets the advantage of being in God's presence? Is it God or is it us? Who benefits more? We benefit more. That's why it's important when we are reading the Bible to not only just read it, because if we just read the Bible without even trying to understand what it says, then it actually becomes like your friend is talking to you and you're sitting there and you pretend like you're listening, but you're really not. And then your friend turns around and asks you a question and you say, duh, I don't know, I never heard what you said. So you see, it's just as important. There's a difference between listening and listening, right? We could be listening but not hearing. Is it making sense, or am I confusing you? Is it making sense? You could be listening to somebody but not really listening, right? Because the words are going in, but it's not making any sense in here because you're not trying to understand what that person is saying. Right? Yes or no? Yeah. So, again, coming back to the point. So you see all of these books that we have in the Bible, all the way from beginning from Genesis, all the way up to the New Testament, right? These books were all written by prophets. And guess what every prophet said? So, coming back to the first point again. Let's imagine God is sitting in this chair, okay? And I'm a man, right? And God can use me in two ways. Or I can allow myself to be used by God in two ways. So if God comes to me in a vision, what is a vision?
Something that you see during the day.
That you see while you're awake, not during the day. You could have a vision at night too. So don't confuse the day and night, okay? But something that happens while you're awake. Just remember that. It's happening while you're awake. And a dream happens while we are asleep. So if God comes to me either in a vision or through a dream and gives me a message, Alright, and I take that message and I bring it and give it to all the people, then what do I become? What do I become? I become a prophet. Why? Because I'm giving you a message from God. Do you understand what a prophet is? A prophet comes bringing a message from God. Now, supposing I look this way and I'm approaching God, okay? But you ask for something, she's asked for something, he's asked for something, and I come and I'm bringing the sacrifice to God and I'm saying, God, please accept all of these people's prayers, right? So when I'm approaching God on behalf of you, because you can approach God directly, we can approach God directly, okay? We can approach God directly. But sometimes we come together as a group and we allow the priest to speak for us, okay? So if I represent the people, to God, then what do I become?
A prophet.
No. I become a priest. So this is the difference between a priest and a prophet. Okay? So a prophet represents God to the people. Do you understand? And the priest represents the people to
God.
Yeah, making sense now?
Yeah.
You see, it's not, the Bible is not complicated. It's really, really easy if you just put it down into little blocks and squares that we can understand in our minds, okay? So the priest will represent the people to God, and the prophet represents God's word to the people, okay? Very simple, right? Okay. Now, so now do we understand that everybody who wrote a holy book or started some kind of a religion, every one of them were men, only men, human, okay? They were only men, only human, and they were all prophets. And they claimed that they were bringing God's word to the people, okay? Now, here we have Jesus Christ. And He is the only one who stands alone. What is the difference between Jesus Christ and all of the other prophets on this earth? What is the difference? All of the prophets were only human. Jesus said that He is
God.
You see the difference? This is the difference. So when we say that all of the religions are the same, now, what do you think? Are they the same? Here is somebody that's a prophet, that's a human, just bringing a message from God. Right? Let me look for this Bible verse. Let me show you this, okay? Alright, let's go to John 1:17. Really quick. We have to understand this. All of the religions are not the same. Okay? John will be in the New Testament, so it will be in the second half of the Bible. John chapter 1 verse 17. It's not 1 John. There's two. We are looking for the Gospel of John. So we go to John 1. And 16, 17. Here, right here we go. Okay, from this word, because. Okay, you want to read that?
Because while the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ.
Alright, so listen to this now very carefully. It says, because the law was given, grace Grace and truth. Look, the law was given. Grace and truth came. Is it possible for me to give something to you from far away?
Yeah.
If I want to mail something to my family, if I want to give my sister something in Canada, I can just take the package, pack it up, go to the post office will mail it to her. The postman comes, knocks on her door, she opens the door, she receives the package, right? I gave it to her, it came from far away. When God speaks, that's the law. So everything God speaks, it becomes a law. The law was given from far away. How did God give the law from far away? Because God was in heaven, right? He gave it. He gave it. It came through the prophets, right? So it didn't come. It came from God, but not by God Himself. Do you understand the difference?
Yes.
So all of the other religions in the world, it was given from far. Okay, the message was sent and it came from far away. But grace and truth came. So when Jesus came, He came in the flesh. He was born as a human, He came onto this earth and He gave His message personally. He didn't use the postman. Do you understand? He didn't use the postman, He came Himself. So when God comes Himself and He's giving us the message, is it going to be the correct message? Yeah, because He's God Himself. He's telling you exactly what He wants to tell you. You know, sometimes if I want to send a message through you to her, and if I tell you something, maybe you misunderstand it and you can give her the wrong message. You understand? And something can get lost in translation. But when God comes Himself and He's telling you, hey, this is the truth. Okay, let me give you an example, okay? Alright. If I place this book over here, okay, is that to your right or to your left? It's to your left, but it's to my right. So who's correct? So so if I say this is the truth that is to my right and she says no, it's to my left,
Because
then how will we know?
you could be right and me left. You're on different sides.
Because we are on different sides. So what happens if we are on different sides and we are seeing the Bible the wrong way? Do you understand? Yes, we could be on the wrong side and interpreting the law and we get it completely opposite. And then it's not the truth anymore. And we've got it all twisted and turned upside down. And so now, this is what happened with the Jews. When God gave them the Old Testament, the Jews were looking at the Bible from the wrong perspective, right? And so they twisted the Bible, the words of God so much that it became completely opposite to what God was trying to tell them. So God said, you know what, I've used prophets in the past, and every time they've gone with the message, even though the message was correct, and the message was right, but by the time when the message reached the people got the message so confused that they didn't see what I was trying to say. They got it completely opposite. So God said, you know what, I have to go myself and talk to them. So Jesus had to come Himself and speak to us. Do you understand the difference? Okay? This is why we believe. So how do we know? What was one of the main reasons why the Jews hated Jesus so much? And they always were plotting to kill Him. Why? Why do you think that?
Because he was the king.
Well, He came as a carpenter. So He wasn't a king. He came born in a little stable with no protection, right? He had a mom and dad to protect him, and they had to run to Egypt to save his life because the King Herod wanted to kill him. So all his life people were after him to kill him. Satan was after Jesus to destroy him all his life. So why do you think that Satan, that Satan and all of the humans on this earth, at least at the time of Jesus, that were living around him or the people that he was influencing, hated him so much and wanted to kill him? Because he had power? You think just because of his power that they wanted to kill him?
Because they expected him to come as a king.
They were expecting the Messiah to come as a king, right? The Messiah, the anointed one. But the main reason why they wanted to kill him was because Jesus kept claiming that he was God. And every time he said that I am God, they wanted to start picking up stones to throw it on him and kill him. Because what they believe, that God is God, no human can be God. Alright? And they said when Jesus was making a claim to be God, that he was blaspheming, that he was saying something wrong against God's name, and that's the reason why they wanted to kill him. Do you understand? And Jesus didn't only say it one time that I am God, he said it over and over and over and over again until there can be no misunderstanding of what he was claiming. And this is the reason why, if Jesus says that he is God, right, then there can only be three possible conclusions that we can come to. The first conclusion we can come when Jesus says that he is God, that we can come to this conclusion is that Jesus is a lunatic, that he is crazy. Okay? The second conclusion that we can come to is that we can say Jesus is a liar. Yes? Either he is lying or he is telling the truth. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so either the first thing is if somebody comes over here and stands in the midst of you, like Jesus, and says, hey, I'm God. I am God. Okay? The first conclusion, you're going to look at that person and say, man, this guy's crazy. He's mad. He's a lunatic, right? Yes or no? The second conclusion we are going to come to is we're going to look at that guy and we are going to say he's lying. He's not God. Yes or no? Now the third conclusion, and that's the only other conclusion we can come to, is that he's telling the truth. So, was Jesus crazy?
No.
If Jesus was crazy, the whole world, even till today, wouldn't be using the words of Jesus. Right? So it's not only the Christians or the Catholics that use Jesus' words today or his words of wisdom. Even the people that are Buddhists and Muslims and all other races, all other religions also use Jesus' words. That means Jesus is not crazy. Okay? So he's not a lunatic. We can scratch that out. If Jesus is a liar, then if somebody is a liar, he would have got caught in his lie. Did we ever catch Jesus saying something that was not true? No. So Jesus is not a liar. So what does that only leave us with? That he's telling us the truth. So Jesus is God wrapped in humanity. Okay? Now, if we go to the Old Testament, okay, the first picture of God that we see is of God as a what? The very first picture that the Bible shows us of God is describing God. Now it's not giving us his name, it's giving us his description, okay? Or something that we can relate to him on earthly terms. It says, in the beginning, God created. So what is God? He's the creator. He's the creator, right? So the first name of God that we see in the Bible is creator. And the word, and the Jewish or the Hebrew word that we use for the creator is called Elohim. Okay? Now you see, like in English we have I don't know how I explain this. We have a term that is called how would you say this? You have three different ways to say it in English. Like if you're talking about the single person, or you're talking about two people, or three or more. So when you talk about a single person, what would that be? I. Second person would be like two people, just only two people. So what would you say for that? You and me? We. But if it was a big group, us or they, right? Us. So you understand how it goes? Okay. So this word is actually it's the third person. Third person meaning, if you use the word El, it would mean one. Okay? El would mean one. If the word was Ella, it would mean two. This word means three or more. So when they talk about God as the creator, Elohim, it's three. Where do we get that reference of three? How can they speak of God being one and yet God being three? Because we are talking about God the God the Son and God the Holy Spirit. Right? You understand? And that's why they use the word Elohim. And if you ask any Jew, just today he can explain it to you why they use, if God is one, why they use Elohim and not just El. Okay? Then we get, so this is not God's name, okay? This is a description, right? Because Elohim is creator God. That means it's showing God as a creator, right? So if you look in your Bibles, let me explain this to you. It's a little complicated because when we translate the Bible into English, we lose some of the sense, okay? So let's go to the first chapter of Genesis, the very first chapter. And that would be on page 2 for some Bibles. It might be different if it's a different printing. Do you all see it? You all are there?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see where it says the first story of creation? Are we there yet? The first story of creation? Okay, everybody there yet? So Genesis is the first book of the Bible, okay? You know what the word Genesis comes from?
No.
Genesis means origin. We talk about the generations, right? The generations of a person. What would the generations be? What would your generations be? If we start tracing your generations back, you trace your generation back from you to your dad, from your dad to your father, from you to your dad, from your dad to his father. So that would become your grandfather, right? And then it would be great-grandfather. And then great-great-grandfather. Do you understand?
Yes.
So that's the generations, right? So when we talk about Genesis, it's showing us the beginning. Alright? The word generations or Genesis means the beginning. But it's not the beginning of beginnings, right? It's only the beginning of where the story that we are talking about starts from. Do you understand? Okay, because God is always there, right? We are not talking about the beginning when God was there and nothing else. We are talking about the story when God created the heavens and the earth. That's where the beginning starts from for us. You understand? Okay? So, you see in that first chapter, everywhere we use the word God. It's spelled like this. God. Alright? You see it? If you go down that whole chapter and look for the word God, look everywhere where the word God is, you'll see it spelled G and small o and small v. Do you understand? Okay. You know where it changes? It changes in chapter 2. In verse 5, where it says the second story of creation. So we are looking over here, second story of creation.